The views and opinions expressed in these historical letters that may contain vernacular used in the World War II era, the post-war era, and the Cold War era do not reflect the views and opinions of any of the individuals involved with this project, including, but not limited to, the podcast's creators. Morning, Jamie.
Good morning, Allison.
How are you doing this morning?
Well, my coffee cup matches my dress. And you know how I feel about that?
Has to match. I guess mine kind of does. Stoneware versus white. Okay.
You have had a very sophisticated look these past episodes. It's very, I want to say minimalist.
Yeah.
With a little pop of color, and that, like the coffee cup kind of.
Yeah. That's the color.
Because it's got the white and the dark, and it's very nice. It's very nice.
Thanks.
I've been definitely digging the gingham.
Yeah.
Americana has been the theme of this summer.
Season. Yeah, for sure.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm going today. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. It's so very nice to see you every single Saturday.
See you too.
It's so fun to catch up with you every single Saturday. And that's what we're doing today, because we are on episode 117, which, Allison, is entitled
Wistful House.
This is cool because this is something, again, you have said that this was something that she had mentioned many, many episodes ago. Mm-hmm. Coming up with names for something. Yep. And Wistful House, I think, is really, I think it's very fitting. It's very fitting. It
absolutely is. There's wistful everything going on, because where are Sweetie's parents? For those that have not been listening to our recent episodes, Dr. Demery and his good wife Laura are supposed to be visiting from Iowa at some point in the summer. And here's the issue, everybody. It's now August 13th, 1952 in the letters. That's the first one we're going to start with. And still no sign of the good doctor and his wife. Chester, the puttering's gotten a bit too intense in Iowa. We need an update. We need to know if you're on your way. Sweetie's going to fill us in on what's going on in Doylestown. And we're going to find out today if we have an update yet on any of that. But coming from the last episodes and things like that, Jamie, I wanted to bring up a picture onto the screen because I think some people missed it, because Sweetie's doing a lot of external work on the house here. And we have to remember this is going on. Yeah. I have to bring it up because, such a good picture. Everybody, this is on our website at www.lovesweetiepodcast.com. Go into those photo galleries at 363 North Main Street. This was going on all summer. Sweetie's up on that ladder.
And so, I'm looking at this, and so, the rest of the house, all the way to that side is like that, right? So they have a lot of house to do this too.
They got a lot of work to do here. Yeah. Sweetie's up on a ladder for our audio listeners, again, with that hammer and chisel. Slowly, as she said, was it the ant, the termite that's trying to work against the New York Empire State Building? That's how they feel this summer. So just keep in the back of your mind as we're listening to the episode today with everything else going on. This is what the house looks like on the outside. Whenever they have free time, including little Lewis at 6 years old with his little hammer and chisel, they are working on the side of the building here, pointing all of that stonework that to this day you can still see what a great job that they did, as the house, of course, still stands. So I just wanted to keep that image in mind. We're going to hear a lot about a different story today, that it's a totally new type of story we haven't heard yet, but in the background, yeah. So, and I love this photo so much. I wanted another excuse to bring it up on the screen because it's so great of Sweetie on the ladder up here in trousers. This is 1952. But just some basic housekeeping. We haven't done it in a while. If you could please like, share, and subscribe to the Love Sweetie podcast on YouTube. If you're listening on our audio channels, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, please leave a review, follow, download, do the stuff that you do on those various platforms to follow podcasts. We very much appreciate that. And of course, as I already mentioned, check out the website at www.lovesweetiepodcast.com. But Jamie, I think it's time, despite all that pointing work going on the side of the building in the photo, I think it's time to check up on Sweetie about everything else that's happening as we go into mid-August of 52. "363 North Main Street, Doylestown, Pennsylvania, August 13th, 1952. Dear Mama and Papa and the family, have had 2 pleasant interludes this week. 1, a phone call from Frank, and 2, Papa's last letter. Have had several from Jean that are always nice, but a nice long one from Papa is something to write home about. And so here goes. To bring you up to date on a few incidents first, let me say that we have been busy with our antiques. You know, we spend a lot of time at sales, perhaps all day to get one good piece, and then there is the job of bringing it home and cleaning it up and placing it so as to get the right amount of eye appeal. And for the small amount of stock and the small amount of money we've had to go on, we've done pretty well. This last weekend we fared the best with a couple of good days sprinkled in with the rainy ones that seemed to prevail. We had Mr. and Mrs. Murphy call upon us rather unexpectedly from Georgia. She came with him this time to get Kay from the school. They are taking him home permanently, as he has improved noticeably, and they have opened a new school for such children in Atlanta, so he probably will get good care and further training. I cannot help but feel sorry for them as well as Kay, and thank my lucky stars that Louis was born with all buttons sewed on securely. I wonder sometimes if they and their children wouldn't be better off if they didn't have so much money. Doesn't that sound funny? But it is to our advantage, their money that is, as Mrs. Murphy seems to take great pleasure out of slinging it around, and if she chooses to sling some of it in our direction, I'm surely not going to be the one caught without a catcher's mitt. And with that in mind, we showed her some nice pieces which she bought, and then not content with that, we took her to another friend of ours and a few choice pieces, and when she bought a nice bisque elephant, we got a $5 rebate from the dealer. Altogether, we separated her from $33.50, and she halfway promised to send us a check for another $25 for a pair of nice bisque figures that the friend has, but won't net us much from that. We also sold a rocking chair for Miss Darst for $30. We only get our 10% or $3 from that, but even so that is something. We sold a $15 washstand, which originally cost us $1, along with a bunch of other stuff, and acquired a nice grandfather's clock to clean and sell for anything over the $100 the friend wants for it. Once cleaned and fixed, we should be able to get nearly $200 for it. It is hard to clean, and it appears to be of 2 colors, the original clay red and Dutch blue, and those original colors are so hard to clean off. Lou is fixing the works himself, taking some pieces down to the base to fix and inveigle the carpenter and metalsmiths into helping him make some irreplaceable parts. The dovetailing is excellent, and I shouldn't be surprised to find, when we go to check style and maker, that it was brought over from England before the Revolution. Believe it or not. It sounds as though I'm laying it on pretty thick, but we have found some writing on it, that we shall have to clean carefully lest we remove it also, but we do honestly believe just that. Saturday, we went to a sale over in New Jersey that was over-advertised, sadly, but we got some nice pieces of Limoges and a nest of platters that should bring us more than we paid for all the stuff put together. We also saved ourselves something like $40, and that is as good as having it handed to us, at least as far as I'm concerned. We've had a lot of people ask us for cards as they leave, so that they can call up about a piece or write us about something, and we haven't had any to give. So we decided we'd invest in some, as good advertisement, and it does add a little to be able to hand out a card when it is requested. So what kind of a card should we have to give it a little distinction from others? I've decided long ago that we'd have to name it good, and haven't been able to get away from Wistful House. Finally convinced Lou it would arouse people's curiosity, and so he agreed. I called all the local printers to get their rates for business cards, and finally found the cheapest, right up the street, a couple of blocks, so we made up our cards and went to order 500 of them for $4.75. Believe it was $5 for the ones we wanted. Then, a day or two later, saw notice in the paper where permission was being requested to open a business under a fictitious name, and they were going through Harrisburg, the local law paper, the local newspaper, and so we decided we'd better be making a few inquiries into it. The prothonotary told us Wistful House Antiques was a fictitious name, and that the cost of going through the procedure so we could operate as an antique shop under that name would be something like $20, and we'd best get a lawyer to do it for us. Well, that $20 automatically erased the name, but just to be safe, we paid a hurried visit to our lawyer. Sounds big, doesn't it? He is Miss Darst's lawyer who helped us with the settlement of the house, and we felt sure he'd give us a little free advice, which he did. So he told us that we could go under the name of Graham's Antiques, and then since there was no harm in naming the house, we could also use the name Wistful House if we put it underneath. And so here's a sample of the card, which we tore back to the printer to stop work on them. Luckily, he hadn't started. And so we are now in big business. He is a nice Mennonite and suggested for economy's sake we keep it plain and order more, so we did, and got 1,000 for $7.25, and we are real pleased with them. How do you like them? See, we saved ourselves $40, as that is what Mr. Smith said it would cost to get the name Wistful House legalized for business. And you know the old saw about a penny saved. Yeah, so this is really interesting, and I think I've come across one of these cards before, so to all of our audience and to our audio listeners, I am on the lookout for the business card, and if I see it, I will definitely post it online and let everybody know. We'll show it in an episode. But I think everybody can kind of, see what it, in their minds, what the card looks like. This is really exciting. They're officially, they've been in business, but there's something that feels very official to have business cards and to actually be, registered with the proper office under Graham's Antiques. And I do have, they're not in the storyline yet, some of the old signs from Graham's Antiques. So we also have that from the store windows and things like that.
This is very exciting because this is business has started. This is something that they had talked about doing. Now, this is definitely not leaving the Navy.
Right.
And they're going to be doing full time. But I think the name Wistful House is so perfect.
Yeah.
For that house, to call it the Wistful House. And it's quite lovely. It's kind of fun to name your house. You know?
Yeah.
I like that a lot. So there was a word here that I was like, the prothonotary.
Yeah, the prothonotary.
Prothonotary. What is that?
So it's one of our main offices. I think there's a prothonotary in most states. Let me get the exact definition for you.
What is that? I've never heard of that. And now I see the word notary in it.
Yeah, and that's exactly the clue, is the word notary. Okay, the term originates from Greek and Latin, meaning first scribe or first notary. It's like legal files. So this is definitely an office for the clerk of the civil division in the counties. I don't know if it's used outside of Pennsylvania. I wonder if that's the thing. Is it just only specifically? Let's ask the AI. That's a good question for the AI.
That's a good question for the AI.
Yeah.
See, a prothonotary, now that sounds like they're the king notary.
Yeah.
All the notaries are under their subjection.
It says it's rare in the U.S., though it can be used outside the it's rare in the U.S. It is more than just Pennsylvania. Delaware uses it. See, it's like the old ones. In Canada uses it. Yeah, I guess it really is very specific. So that's actually a really great question, because being in Pennsylvania, I'd heard the term a lot. Working around court records and things like that I do in my full-time job. And it never really occurred to me that, especially for our listeners, it'd be like, what is a prothonotary? Yeah, so it's like civil filings, things like that.
That's cool. I ask great questions. I'm good at that. Let's see what else. Oh, yeah. So they're getting a lot of stock, and they just sold a lot of stuff too.
Yeah.
And this seems to be more, I don't know if this has been going on in concurrent with our other, concurrently with our other storyline, and she just hasn't really talked about it, or if they're actually really seriously getting more into it, because they did a lot of stuff. They sold a lot of things. So, it's very exciting. And they had the house to showcase.
Yeah.
To showcase all the things.
Yeah, and the stuff about the rebates. So they
Mhm.
clearly have some dealings with some other vendors to be like, hey, if we have something, we'll give you a portion of the profit. They've clearly worked all of that out
Mhm.
with these other people. They're becoming known. They're attending a lot of sales. They're understanding the brands. Things like, she never mentioned Limoges on the podcast. I think we haven't seen that.
Mm-mm.
She's learning what's of value, and they do so much research. They're so good at identifying value. And that's
That
going to
is
be big.
true. When they first started doing this,
Mm-hmm.
she's like, we have to research. We write to Joe. He goes to the library. Our library, she said, was kind of like not really good, and they needed a lot more. But now it seems to me like she's becoming so good at it. She just, like, this stuff is off the top of her head.
Yeah.
She knows where to look for things now, and that indicates that she's definitely getting better at it, and she's getting so much better at it that we don't even. Like, it's becoming second nature to her. And you know what else I was thinking? I was like, I'm really, really glad she got that typewriter.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh.
She has definitely got her money's worth out of that typewriter.
Yeah.
It just reminded me, like, of where they were. Let's talk a little bit about that. They were in this tiny little house. She was handwriting things. She was borrowing Dit's typewriter all the time.
Yep.
They didn't have a phone. And now, 1952, they have this giant house. They have a phone. And now, business, this feels like an official start. It's kind of exciting.
And then the other thing is Mrs. Murphy here. So she's reading people really well. She understands. She's like, oh, she's going to want this thing, and then they've got this other thing. And, she makes this commentary about the money. Now, we know that the Murphys are very well off. And we also hear this part about Kay over here, the Murphy's son. We haven't really gone into it too much. Kay has some issues, and that's why he's been in school away from his parents. If people have been wondering, is he at a boarding school? Because, this is the family that would afford boarding school, no doubt. It's been a bit more intense than boarding school with what's going on. The good news is that he's doing well, and he's going to be rejoining his parents in Atlanta and living with them. So I'm happy to hear that, like, he did do well, but he'd been struggling with some issues, and that's why they kept visiting and having to go to a further place, because his boarding school was not in Doylestown. It was in Lower Bucks, and I'm not even sure I doubt it's there anymore where he was staying. But, like, all these things in this first part of the letter fills in a lot of gaps. But yeah, formal start of business. So cool.
Yes.
Frank's call came as a surprise the other night, but as I've already said, it was a pleasant surprise and I enjoyed it very much. Though sure when it rang that it had to be Frank, but hoped he was going to give me the news that the folks were on the way. That's what I wanted to hear most, but was glad to hear everyone was all right, and am surprised that little MJ has decided already to sleep the night through without extra attention. She seems to be the first, if my memory serves me correctly, to start so young. Does that mean she'll always use her head so well? I'm waiting anxiously for a picture of her, as that is probably the best I'll get for a while at least. I enjoyed the pictures of sister's kids that Papa sent proofs of, though they made me feel like Methuselah's grandmother. I didn't get proofs of KM and R, but Papa's letter said to watch for more proofs this week, and so I'm getting my pleasure in installments. About the sad experience I mentioned in my last letter. At one of the sales we attend, a farm sale where they auction everything you can think of and lots of things you can't, we came upon a bunch of puppies brought to be sold. Lewis was at once enthralled, and the darn man, knowing full well what he was doing, picked one out of the cage and piled it into Lewis's arms, saying, "Here, little boy, you want to hold him?" Then the plan began, and it would have been as hard to pull them apart as it would be to move Lookout Mountain with a drinking straw, and finally we gave in and got it for him. I was suspicious of him from the start. He seemed rather listless. "Nah, lady, he's scared of the crowd." He was too thin. The rest of them crowd him out of the food. He was cute, though, in a little doggy way, but more important than that, Lewis was cooing and petting and pleading, so we brought him home. Before we got here, I knew he was sick, and as alive with fleas as they could possibly get without biting each other. We got a doghouse, and when we went to bed, he started the most persistent tune you've ever heard. He suffered through one night outside, but the storm of protest the neighbors made it obvious he'd never spend another outside. The next day he couldn't be left alone 1 minute without starting in. The neighbors said their kids hadn't slept at night and now couldn't sleep through the day. He wouldn't stay on a rope without crying, and he couldn't be left off without getting into the street to get himself killed. He was listless. Even after a bath and a dusting of flea powder, he still scratched. If Lewis got out of sight for a minute, he started wailing like a full-grown hound, and he didn't eat. Even Lewis came and asked what was the matter with him. After eating, he'd either throw it up or else otherwise made himself equally as obnoxious. There were 2 big sales coming off, and how were we to manage that dog? And so after we sat down and talked it all out, Lewis agreed the only thing to do was to give him back and wait until we could get a better dog when he was bigger. And so after just a few days, I got up early in the morning and took him away to the SPCA, asking them to take care of him until some little boy wanted a dog. I'm not sure what the outcome would be. Perhaps it is just as well. I told Lewis I took him back home, and he was satisfied to let it go at that. If ever you wonder what your kids are made of, you find out when they are faced with such a situation as this. Lewis was crazy about that dog, and I felt like a heel to take him away, and wouldn't have if Lewis hadn't used his head and gave me the permission to take him away. But he came to me and said he knew Rex was sick, and when he cried all night, and whenever he was left alone, he knew the neighbors had complained and tried to keep him quiet. He knew he'd have to stay home to take care of him, as we couldn't take him along to sales, and so even though he did cry, he said he guessed it was the right thing to do. When he came downstairs that morning and asked where Rex was, I told him I'd gotten up early to take him back, and he said, "You know, I almost called you upstairs last night after I'd gone to bed to ask if you'd take him away while I was asleep, and I'm glad you did." He wept a few tears, but at the time we were discussing taking him away, not when he found he was gone. He tagged me around that day, and I tried especially hard to keep him entertained, and so we were over the hurdle. But as I say, I was so proud of him for being such a big boy about it, that I felt still worse than before. Well, I hope it won't be too long before he does get another dog, but this time we'll be sure of its breed and its health before we undertake it again.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so sad.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, she's right.
Yep.
The practicality of the situation.
The salesman knew what he was doing, right? This isn't like it just started kind of thing from what she's describing. And then, yeah, definitely, oh, here's a kid, let me put the dog in his hands. Like, this kid seems very genuine. But the amazing thing about the whole story is Lewis, at 6 years old, understands, like, something's not right here.
Mm-hmm.
And was really being grown up about it, which is what she's so impressed by. And I think it just impresses everybody. No one wants to get into a situation where they take in a pet and then it just doesn't work out, especially like so immediately, but at any time, any responsible person taking in a pet, like, you understand immediately, like, it's an immediate part of the family and you're going to take care of it. And there's some rare circumstances where it just does not work out. This is one of them.
Oh, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I've had animals. I've had animals that I was like, this animal is a danger.
Mm-hmm.
And then while the puppy wasn't a danger, clearly was not the best situation health-wise, and it was not acclimated to. I actually wonder about the age too.
Yeah.
Because it's legal. It's a law that you cannot sell puppies that are under 8 weeks old because they have to be with their mother until that time. So if this puppy was even younger than that.
Yeah, who knows back in the 50s if even those laws existed, that it could have been just someone. Yeah.
Very proud of Lewis. Of course.
Yeah.
And I'm glad, and it was rough, and also, but it was good for him. Like she said, it was, she saw his character shine through, but it's also good for him to experience those things and learn how to deal with that situation, and and come through on the better side. I'm glad that keeping the puppy would have definitely not gone well for them. Oh yeah, so,
for sure, absolutely not. He has a love of animals. We've seen this. He had the ducks, right, when he was in Lacona. That's the other thing. He's been around a lot of types of animals from his experience in Iowa. He's been around a farm. He can tell already at this young age when something's not right. Not everybody has that sense. He absolutely does. He's always loved animals his entire life. We've always had rescues or adopted animals, all different types of animals across the board, and he's taken such great care of all of them. Always loved All of, the natural world. And of course he gets that from a lot of different people, but this is that early sign of responsibility.
Yes.
Also. Yeah. And, it just wasn't meant to be. This is the sad experience she mentioned in the end of last week's episode in the last letter. She said, I have a sad tale to tell you that I'm not going to get into now. This is the content that she's absolutely referring to. And yeah, it's just sad, but it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But moving on to the last part of the letter here from August 13th.
Papa's letter stating that as long as they have had to postpone their trip for so long to accommodate a few women may make it a longer visit, and for that I'm pleased and wonder in view of that, if it might not be true that all things work for good. I've been afraid of a quick trip and now hope that the babies will be out of the way and we can prolong your visit and make it more worthwhile for all. You'll be more likely to attend the Demarest family dinner, and I was afraid you wouldn't, and so I'm not going to complain further about the big delay, but rather make further plans for an extended visit and perhaps more fun than we'd anticipated. I shall enclose a short note about the things I want you to bring, rather than go into that in the family letter. It is always interesting to hear about the kids, and I got a big kick out of the party and must say both you and Mama can rally to the cause on short notice. You've got to give them credit for getting the party underway. Lewis informed me this morning that he was going to clean up and fix up the shed and move out there and live alone. Not because he was unhappy with us, but is desirous of doing on his own. I inquired how he expected to have light, as the shed is not wired for electricity, and he said, well, I don't expect to leave right away, as there is much to be cleaned out, and by then Grandpa Demery will be here with my electrical equipment, and I'll make my own lights. Here it is, another day, and this letter not off to you yet. I shall have to get it done so it can be mailed when I go to do the laundry. Lou is still working the 6-to-1 shift, and it is convenient to have the car home in the afternoons. He could have made hay on the work on the outside of the house, if it hadn't been for the persistent rains we've had. Everyone comments on how nice the house is going to look. I'm convinced of it myself, and am quite proud of us amateurs for starting it. I enjoyed Jean's account of having overslept the other night, and didn't get up to get to work on time. It is the same with us, especially on this 6-to-1 shift, where we have to get up at 5:15. I got so that I either didn't hear the alarm or else quickly reached out and shut it off before it could really awaken me. After a time or two of rushing like mad to get him off, and after which he remarked, "For sake, what's the matter with you?" I said we'd reshuffle the deck and put the alarm on his side of the bed, so it would either wake him up or else me. Now we both oversleep, and about the only remark he can make is, "For sake, what's the matter with me?" Yak, yak. How about shifting the alarm clock, Jean? Have watched with more alarm than interest the rise in number of polio cases, and must say that polio is one of my biggest boogeymen to haunt me. There is much talk of it right now, and that is bad psychology in a way. Whenever Lewis isn't feeling quite up to par, he hangs his head suddenly and then says, "Nope, ain't polio," and goes ahead playing. I always feel more alarm and sympathy for those numbers of kids in the Midwest who are sick with it, and worry almost as much for Sisters, Florence's, and Frank's kids as for my own. I can't help but feel that the Midwest is still home, and those people are mine, rather than this as being home. I think I'd just as soon bow out right from the start as to vegetate in an iron lung indefinitely. And how would I feel to watch Lewis in such circumstances? Makes me shudder. For that reason, I've been somewhat surprised to read of Sister's 3 kids going swimming and riding bicycles so far, and mingling with the many others. But I guess we could all go into hibernation and still catch it, so I surely don't intend to criticize. Well, sir, I don't want this to lay over another day, as I meant to get it off yesterday, so I just must close now and get the clothes gathered up and sorted. We'll watch for word from the folks as to their starting date, and I warn you in advance to bring enough clothes to stay longer than you think. As I've said before, little Iodine can take some lessons from me once you get here. You'll play hob getting away to go home. Bring your winter coats and stay all winter. I dare you. Love to all. Dear Jean and Glenn, just a note to enclose with your letter to thank you for your frequent letters that go unanswered too long. I almost understood from Frank's phone call that the folks didn't really intend to make the trip. I've felt for some time that I've been whistling in the dark, especially when Papa wrote to this effect. KM and he had both had the flu, and he wrote that he thought for a while his rapid and irregular heartbeat would get the best of him. But this letter from him sounded much better, and he speaks of coming, and what we want them to bring, so perhaps I'm getting unduly alarmed again. How do they seem to you? I think that Mama has had just about all she can take of the kids, and from what Papa writes, I couldn't comment on it in the family letter if I'm to send a copy to Florence. I don't wonder, actually. Wish you were coming along with them, as I must say I seem to be pretty homesick for the lot of you, right now. Okay, Glenn, have a big guffaw. I don't mind a bit. I must stop, as I've much to do as usual. Love to you both.
Okay.
That letter wasn't signed.
Yeah. Yeah, she's kind of rushing around.
Mm-hmm.
Probably because she has to get up on that ladder again and go work on the house.
Because she has to get up with Lou to get him off to work. Like super early. He needs something to eat. He probably needs his lunch. I do the same thing for my husband, so I totally understand where she's coming from.
4:45 in the morning. Nope, too early for me. Also, her cursing again across the top of the typewriter keys, right in order. Bam, 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 bam.
So you did this move, because I went ... I'm like, she goes when she's mad, and you went shoo, and I'm like, ooh, I wonder if she does just kind of drag her finger because she's mad.
Maybe.
I don't know.
That's
it's fun
tough with typewriter keys though, because they do require that depression. Yeah,
so she probably was like
getting
some of that aggression out, and not writing the bad words. But yeah, I think that's really funny. And then also that Lou's like, okay, maybe the problem is the alarm clock. Not you. That was funny. Then she talks about polio.
Ooh, yeah.
That's kind of crazy, like to think about, like having something like that to worry about, and then her actually saying that, and I want to get it right. There is much to talk of it right now, and that is bad psychology in a way. I think that's an interesting perspective and an interesting point for her to bring up, because then she, reiterates the story of little Louis saying, nope, not polio. Like he is that age and he's aware of it.
Yeah. I mean, polio is one of those interesting subjects whereby at this time period, everybody's thinking of it. And now we barely think of it at all. It's a thing of the past for the most part. Like modern medical science, I was listening, was it David McCullough? I think it was David McCullough. Before he passed away, there's some great lectures online if you just look him up. Just listen to any of them. Any of the ones talking about his books, things like that. And he's reflecting back on what are the biggest things of the 20th century? What is it going to be known for? Is it going to be for people, for the wars, for certain, like all sorts of things? And one of the biggest things he said is, like, in the big history of the world, it's going to be the modern medical advancements of the 20th century. He's like, all this other stuff that's going on, we think it's important right now. Of course, it's important, in the whole story. But that's going to be the number one, is the technological and medical advancements of the 20th century. I mean, to think about something like polio, which she's concerned about, Sisters and Florence's kids out and about, playing with other individuals that might have, I guess it was contagious in that sense, I don't, like, that's just it. We don't even know too much about how you contract polio these days because it's not a thing anymore. And to think that's just pretty much eradicated at this point.
Polio. This isn't something that we worry about here in the United States.
Right. And it's only 70 years later? Done.
And then for it to be such a big deal back then. Yes. Yeah. So it's very interesting that she brings this up. Like she doesn't mention actually knowing anybody with polio. Right. I don't think that this was a thing, but she is completely aware of it and knows that there's cases. So she gets up in the morning with Lou. Oh, and that was so cute that little Louis was like, I'm going to move out to the shed. And
then electricity.
And she's like, no, Grandpa Demery's coming. He's going to fix me up, Mom. Don't worry about it. I already have this all planned out. I mean, I'm sure that he is anticipating this visit just as much as she is.
Oh, he can't wait. He cannot wait to see Grandpa and Grandma Demery. I mean, he doesn't get to see any other family other than his dad's side. I mean, he sees Dit and he sees Bobby and little Marguerite and Emmy. And like Bobby's kind of his age, but like they're totally on a different scale of like
they're
mentality.
not the same.
No, they're completely different. So it's just like he doesn't really have his friend Sally. You know, he doesn't really see too many people. He wants to see his grandparents. You know, what is it? What was the nickname he had for Grandma Demery? It was Grandpa's grandma. I think it was something like
Grandpa's
that.
grandma. Yeah. It was very cute. He definitely has a relationship with Chester. Like a personal relationship with Chester. Yeah. And she actually, speaking of Chester, you know, he was sick and he said, and Sweetie mentions about his rapid and irregular heartbeat. So that was a little concerning because, you know, she's still like, has not been in the forefront, but this little thing we have to touch on that he still is having heart problems. His health is not the best. And that did concern her about him making that trip out to Pennsylvania.
And you know he's bringing his morphine with him. Go back to episode 71. Like some of these episodes I just know the name of, know the title of because they're so critical. Determination and Cussedness. This is the one where we find out more about that he'd had the heart attack back in 48. This has been ongoing. He's been self-medicating with morphine that he's prescribing to himself without telling anybody. And again, I will remind our listeners, in season 3, we are going to resolve that storyline. Some stuff's going to happen. But when he's going to visit, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that he's bringing his morphine with him. That this is going on during the visit as well. And again, it's that secret. At this point, Sweetie has kept it a secret completely from Lou, and we know my father had no knowledge of it, so because I've talked to him. So this is something that she knows is going to be going on if they come east. So as well.
That is another thing for her to be, you know, concerned about. And we don't see that. These are private letters, I'm sure, that Jean. So I'll be curious to see like how that situation plays out.
Yep.
But she, you know, she mentioned a little something too. She's concerned, and I can kind of see her getting exhausted. Like with this whole back and forth. Are they coming? Are they not coming? She really wants it to happen, but I can see her getting kind of, I don't want to say fed up, more kind of dejected. And it's kind of sad.
Oh, there's one other thing I did want to mention though. It was the reference to little iodine.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so I was looking this up because sometimes I completely miss it, but this one I'm like, why does she have it on all caps?
Yeah.
She's got the name as if it's formal. This was a comic, basically, back in the 40s. It ran from 43 until 83, so the iodine's around for a long time. She's basically a brat.
Oh.
So she's naughty and bratty. So when Sweetie makes the mission, she says, as I've said before, little iodine can take some lessons from me. So she's calling herself a brat, which is really fascinating. And I was just looking at it here. They tried to get a film adaptation here in 1946 that was never released. It's considered a lost film, apparently. But get this. It says the film, this is the Wikipedia entry on Little Iodine, if everybody wants to go check it out. The film was scheduled to release earlier than October 20th, 1946. But that date was postponed due to an epidemic of polio that prevented children across the United States from attending films, and it's considered lost. Which again, just with the polio connection, this whole thing that she's mentioning iodine, no intention from her there clearly, because I think that would be just way too much of it's a weird coincidence that in the letter she mentions little iodine and she's talking about polio right before it. But yeah, the brat. So if we see a reference to that in a future letter, that's what it means.
Yeah, because she mentioned little iodine before, and I was like, I don't know what little iodine is. And that is, honestly, I would never think of a little girl being called Iodine. That's a weird, is that her name? Iodine?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's it. It's just like they said, there's antics basically. It's like a female Dennis the Menace kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess, there was cameos in Popeye. Well, that makes sense. My dad loved Popeye the Sailor. Every time like I have spinach, I still think about Popeye. But yeah, definitely.
Little iodine. See, when you say iodine, like, hey, little iodine. No, sorry, doesn't work. Not
naughty and likable. Yeah, so here's the writer, the original, the creator. He writes, I tried to make her the embodiment of all the brats I knew. I tried to make her naughty as hell and still likable. So that's cool. Yeah.
That is fun. I'm glad that you kind of cleared that up because I had questions. But it wasn't that, like, it wasn't pressing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Heading into the last letter.
"363 North Main Street, Doylestown, Pennsylvania, August 15th, 1952. Dear Family, you may be surprised to receive this, as I've been somewhat lax in writing lately, but as I've a few minutes before the rush begins, thought I'd take time to tell you I was thinking of you all. The date reminds me that Marguerite is due to fly back from her Texas visit today, if G-Mom has gotten the date right, and if she has, it is a wonder. She has had 3 weeks with her mother and stepfather, and I think she is planning a weekend visit to Joe in Maine, possibly next week. Joe has had some good reviews for his various roles in summer theater, has played a bit part in a play with Mae West, Joan Blondell, and now Arthur Treacher and Claude Rains. It is too bad that he doesn't get a better role as a result of the reviews, but somehow it seems to fail right there. How he keeps on hoping as he does is beyond me, but as long as they don't complain, I'd best keep my 2 cents worth to myself. He, Joe, expects to come home about the 2nd week of September, just about in time to spend a day or 2 with Elizabeth and that branch of the clan when they take their 2 weeks at the shore. We've had an invite down for the weekend, and that includes Mama and Papa if they are here by then and care to go. Young Louis is thrilled at the very mention of it, but I'm not sure just how we'll manage, as he will be in school by then. We are having many cloudy days, and this is no exception. I'd thought I'd go and do the laundry yesterday, as it was a nice bright day, but though Lou went to work at 6 a.m. yesterday, there were so many squawks to take care of, they had to work till 4:15 instead of the usual 1 p.m. Then, after a couple of goodwill errands, it was too late for me to go. Now it is cloudy, and the likelihood of rain is great, so we may be digging clothes out of the laundry basket to keep going another day. Rainy days cut down our antique traffic, too, and so I'd be glad to see about a week of good days for a change. Our cesspool down at the little house is running over again, and there are the usual complaints. It is mostly surface water, but objectionable all the same. We are thoroughly disgusted with it now, and so we are going to put it up for sale for sure this time. We've threatened to do so for some time, but the cost of keeping the tenants satisfied uses up all the slight profit we could make in renting, and if we are to sell, now is the time to do so, and so I guess we'll be about it this time for sure. Jean, I'm sorry to hear that Hilma's little boy is so slow in his growth and response. Elizabeth's little M.E. is slow in some respects, but I don't think it is serious. Probably that they are too busy to spend much time with her, and I think that has a lot to do with it. Don't you? Since Hilma is so busy trying to work and keep house and look after the kids, she probably hasn't had enough time to help little M develop. I wonder if Hilma doesn't wonder sometimes if she is any better off to be married than to be single. Seems to me she works too hard, has too little time for her kids, and now says they are going to board out the kids for the winter. That should be the very last straw, and I wouldn't resort to any such thing as that, unless they are in really dire circumstances. You know that isn't the thing to do, and somebody ought to talk her out of it. Got word that they are letting the contract to bring the sewerage system down on Main Street. We've had a cesspool here all this time, except for the kitchen sink, which drains out onto the backyard in a homemade drain and then down the driveway. It is a very unsatisfactory arrangement, gets very icky, and didn't little Marguerite, on her wobbly legs, take a backflip right into it not so long ago? Ugh. Elizabeth and I, as well as little Marguerite, just gagged. I had to quick hunt up some old outgrown clothes of Lewis's, and we stripped her clear to her skin to get rid of it. It will be additional cost sometime next year, I suspect, but we are welcoming the thoughts of it now. Miss Darst is aging those new systems, and vows we'll be extremely sorry, but I can't see it from where I sit. We don't pay for bringing the pipes past the house, and for that I say, thank the good Lord, as we have 150 feet of frontage, but we do pay for the connecting to the house, and I suspect that will be a tidy little sum. I'm only afraid that they'll find the lower sections of pipe will have to be replaced, as they are old pipes that have never been looked at since they were put in. I'm also going to get some better piping put into the kitchen, and by all means a sink trap to stop the odor that permeates the house during the night. I think we can get that just by scrounging at a sale and possibly some of the pipe and fittings too, to make it cost considerably less.
Yeah, so
that is so very odd. Like, this is a big, beautiful house. I mean, clearly Darst and her brother had no intention of ever doing any kind of updates, especially given that, like, anytime that you suggested anything to her, anytime actually didn't she have the health department tell her she needed to do something and she disregarded that?
The well that they had to take care of the well, which was a hazard. And if kids went across, they could have fallen in the well. And it's like, oh, well, like the house, it needed so much stuff. Like, no wonder the neighbors are now, first they're gawking, right? It's just like, this woman's up on a ladder. And now they're looking at it and saying, you know, they're actually making repairs to stuff. But yeah, this is in addition to the work going on in the back of the property, right? They have to get all of this other stuff. It's being connected. Old homes like this, getting all of these updates, it's a lot of work. Today and back then. And just the simple thing of, like, who knew until she wrote at this moment that the kitchen drainage is just going out, like, on a separate line, just out past the one side? Who knew? And then she writes that and I'm like, ugh. But that must have been a thing.
Gross.
That must have been standard back then. You know, and you think about that, and then she's talking about just the smell of things. And yeah, like, this stuff is just unheard of today. In modern homes.
Like you would never, and especially in town limits, you would never be able to just have your sink just like, ugh. And I mean, clearly it's not a good setup, but it was, you know, it's what they had and what they used. So I had no idea about that. And think about that, like, that didn't take priority over pointing the house, you know, and getting, like, that didn't take priority. That was something they're okay with. It still boggles my mind that there's only one bathroom in this 14-room house.
Right.
I just can't believe that.
I mean, think about where she's coming from in Des Moines, like, well, in Lacona. They build the outhouse with the shower in it. So she's not going to be as bothered as probably people in the East that are used to more modern conveniences anyway, because of her experience of living in Lacona. Like, Lou's been on a ship so many times. He's probably just running with it. Lewis doesn't know otherwise. You know, he actually spent some time in Lacona. We have the pictures of him, like, standing in the doorway of, like, the outhouse and the shower. So, like, for them, you know, it's not as much of a bother. But yeah, now it's like, we can be living better. And we have to wonder, like, old Mr. Strauss in the house next door that is no longer there today, was it the same for most of the houses on the row here? They're all from somewhat the same generation, but they're of course gone, so we wouldn't have the records on that. But I have to imagine you probably didn't want to go walking down North Main Street too much, and there wasn't much to really walk to that's totally different today. But back then, past the point of her house, other than a few other houses, it's mostly open at this time. There's, like, the grocer, there's the market, and things like that. You know, she talks about, like, the seafood man and all this kind of stuff. It had to be an interesting smell a little bit on the North Main Street side of things, from all the grocery and all the open air and things like this. And then there's the cesspools, and then there's these houses being redone. They're ripping up the street. So yeah, not the case.
So that's when the soup.
It smells very nice today for non-Doylestown people. So.
I'm sure it does. And the sewage system runs beautifully and everything's connected, because that is just disgusting to me. The idea of it. But again, like, modern convenience. You know, modern convenience. She wasn't used to it. You know, so yeah. And then I'm like, so it seems now Lewis is going back to school. And so the whole plan was for Chester and Laura to come out before. Yeah, and she was we still haven't found out about Lewis's cruise. Like, Joe and Marguerite were gone, so that, like, now they're back, or they will be back in time. There's just a lot going on. It's just it also that bothers me, because, like, nowadays you know, like, if I'm going to take a trip somewhere to visit somebody, like, we plan, we're like, this is when we'll be here. I'll text you. You know, I've got my GPS. This says that I'll be there at 3:17. You know what I mean? And it's just boom, 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 boom. And we can just hop in the car and go. That is so weird. Like, okay, maybe I'll be here. You know,
maybe
you
I'll
just
show up
ready.
at your door. Yeah, whenever.
I'm thinking about coming. You know how it goes. So it's just very funny to me, like, you know, just thinking about the way things were and the way things are. But we do have our second half of this August 15th letter.
We got out and mowed the lawn last night. After the rains, it was so high that we had to get out and rake it too. The backyard is still to be done, and the back lot will have to be cut with a Father Time scythe. It has grown so high and is so rank. The front yard looks better than it has for the last 40 years, so the neighbors tell us, and that is an incentive to additional effort. We're having great difficulty getting the house worked on, as the rains come just when Lou is ready to cement, and that puts the crimp in that. Everyone who stops to look at antiques is interested in the house, and all compliment us on the job we've done, as well as having the courage to undertake the whole thing. I suspect if it rains this afternoon, Lou will want to stash the indoor work and go down to Germantown, where we've found out there is a dealer who deals in rough, unfinished furniture. He is supposed to be cheap, but then those people may not put the same meaning on the word that we would have to. I had a chance to sell the set of 6 handmade Victorian chairs that we use for dining chairs. They belong to Miss Darst. Our one set that I do want for myself may sell them later, but I've put up too big of a fuss to get them myself to sell them now. We'll bring a fancy price when we do sell them. I'm more interested in primitive for myself. These are a little too highbrow. Have been hoping you characters wouldn't be so backward about writing me about the clothes and odds and ends we can pick up. I've written you a couple of times before suggesting you write your wants and let me see what I could do to get something together for you. But so far, none have responded. Do any of the nieces or nephews need underwear to start in school? I can buy slight irregulars at reduced prices, and they seem almost like too good a buy to pass up. Do girls wear striped jerseys to school, as Lewis does? I can get some pretty ones that I think would do, both for boys or girls, but then I don't know so much about girls' styles. If you're interested, why don't you let me buy some and send them for your approval? If Susie or Em or Cam can't use them, they each have brothers who can in time. If you think I'm being overgenerous to offer to buy them, you can reimburse me. I ain't that proud. I can get ladies' underwear for the sisters and sister-in-laws, as well as men's underwear. Men's t-shirts for 30 cents per. But they have arms in them, rather sleeves like Lou wears in the Navy. Frank knows what I mean. But maybe Jean can get them at the Army-Navy store. I'm not sure. Just the same, it looks like you'd at least write yes or no. Mama and Papa, I could probably buy something for you, or you can see for yourselves when you come. Well, Tempest is really fidgeted, and so I'll have to stop and get everything ready to whiz to the laundry when Lou gets the car home. Wait, I'll go see if the mail has come and maybe answer a question or two or make a comment. Optimist, ain't I? Yes, sir. I got the proofs of Cam and R's pictures in the mail and think they are all good. I think I see a little more of our Bob and R. In fact, I think Cam and R look a lot more alike than they used to. I thought R's better than Cam's, but must say I'm very pleased to get them all. I'm glad that Papa got the bargain in photographic paper and hope that I shall get some good finished portraits of all the family. I've just got to stop now. Can't let you get too used to the idea of letters so often, you know, and besides, I'll be able to teach Ma Kettle a few things if I don't read out a bit. Yak, yak. Love to all of you. Sweetie.
Mm-hmm.
So when I read that last part, it's part of PA nomenclature? No, that's not right. That's not the word. PA, like, dialect? Yes.
Okay.
To red up the house means to clean up the house. So is that what she meant here, or am I misreading?
No, I think that's what she meant here.
Yeah.
I think that is it, yeah. And the other thing is, we were just talking about Little Iodine, and then we got Ma Kettle, and we're going to see Ma Kettle referenced actually in next week's episode in one of the letters there. We would not know about this really in our generation, but they're also comic film characters from films in the late 1940s and 50s. It's a hillbilly duo that have, as it says on this article, a ramshackle farm and a brood of rambunctious children. And basically, they have to just make things work. So that was really, really popular at the time. There's a lot of films, and I believe they're credited with they're saying they credit Ma and Pa Kettle as saving Universal Studios from bankruptcy back at the time. So, Little Iodine, this is the humor of the time. I think, what is it? My dad loves watching the Beverly Hillbillies.
Yeah.
So this is probably, I guess, a precursor to that, that kind of style and things like that. I've watched clips and it's like some things we just can't connect on as easily. Some things are funny, but like you had to be there, I guess, at the time. So that's where we go.
That was their baseline.
Yeah.
That was their baseline. I mean, I've heard of Ma and Pa Kettle, but only in reference, so I've never watched an episode or saw anything like that.
Yeah.
But she's very topical.
Mm-hmm.
She's very topical, which is cool. And I'm glad because then she pulls in these phrases and things that, we might not have seen. Like, I mean, there's been times when you have gone over words that she's used, like the things that she did, which we're just like, what does that mean? But when she said read up the house, or she said, what did she say? If I don't read things out a bit, I'm just like, it made me laugh because when I first moved to Pennsylvania, like I heard read up the house. I'm like, what does that mean? What do you mean?
Yeah.
I say pick up the living room. We're going to pick up the living room, and then I get made fun of. Oh, you're going to pick up the living room. It's pretty heavy. I'm like, well, you're going to rent up the house. That's kind of stupid. So,
well, it's interesting to me is like if people are like, we see all these transcriptions on the screen. How do we know that they're just not coming up with this content every week on the podcast? I do have to post that. We're working on the technology being better and cleaner so that we can actually show the transcription with the actual letter and things like that. But if you were ever wondering if it's authentic, first of all, AI would not be going back into 40s slang. Some of the slang terms you almost can't find online, so AI wouldn't know what to draw from. And secondarily, we weren't alive in the years to make these references. So if that doesn't prove it, like Little Iodine, nah, like we wouldn't know any of that. It ended right before I was born, and then you've got Mom Pa Kettle, no idea, just in reference. No, and all these other things. So I love that the content kind of proves like, nope, those are real, because there's no way their generation has ever heard of some of these things. Sulfa, Aureomycin, things that obviously are not in circulation anymore. I like this whole section here about the part where she's trying to get the items, but nobody's responding to her. She's like, I can get all this good deals on all these things. Surely everybody needs underwear. Like, doesn't Bueller? Is nobody there? Nobody wants anything? So
I know she does kind of seem a little like, excuse me, like you don't want to buy like cheap underwear? That's kind of a little bit weird.
Deal. What is everybody doing? Yeah.
And the jerseys. I mean, like I said, I kind of, I'm going to actually look up what these clothes look like, because the jerseys that the kids would wear and those kind of things, because she's mentioning this stuff so much.
Yeah.
And it is kind of fun to think about like how they dressed. I've talked about it before, but like what the style is at the time. That's neat. I mean, we have different styles come in every year, and I'm always like, oh wow, I wore that in high school.
They do repeat. They tend to repeat a lot.
Just go. In the 90s, we had this whole like 50s vibe. Remember that? Yeah. It was like we kind of grew up with like the 50s style. So maybe it'll come back around a couple more times.
We'll see. Probably will. And then she mentions the chairs. She just loves her chairs. She doesn't want to let go of them. But I love that she says she likes the more primitive. She's talking about probably colonial. She wants to get that kind of style. But
well, Miss Darsh, they had good taste, and so they had. I bet you they're really gorgeous. And I like how she's like, I could have sold them.
But I didn't.
But I kind of already made a big fuss about it.
Yeah. So.
Oh well.
Well, the biggest news is Chester and Laura aren't there yet.
Yep.
Hopefully they'll show up sometime. We'll find that out in future episodes about what's going on with that. But that is in the future at this point.
And with that, we'll see you next week.